I want to bring in Hen Mazzig, Senior Fellow at the Tel Aviv Institute. Hen, I know that you've been following everything that's happening here, including questions here in the United States about continuing to fund Israel. Now, Israel agreed to a ceasefire. What message, if they were to agree to a ceasefire, what message would that send to Hamas and to the world?
I think the message would be that Israel is not interested in rescuing the 230 hostages that are held in Gaza right now. If Israel was to withdraw, that would send a message to hundreds of families in Israel that their babies, that their children, that their elderly women that are held by Hamas just don't matter, and that their blood is cheap. And I don't think that Israel would want to send this message. And I don't think it would be a good message for the world to have Israel sent to those terrorist organizations. You know, we're speaking about what's going on in Gaza, and every innocent life that is being lost is a tragedy. It's really important to remember that. But the numbers that Hamas is posting to the world are just false. And when the international media spoke about the Hamas health ministry, the Gaza health ministry, and got pushback because we know it's Hamas, they shifted to speak about numbers coming from the NGOs and UNRWA, but they are also controlled by Hamas. I served as a humanitarian officer for 5 years in 2008 to 2012. I've seen those organizations. They are all controlled by Hamas, and that's why the numbers are almost identical. But I think the numbers are far less than the inflated numbers that Hamas is sending to the world.
And I asked a guest this earlier today because it's one that we keep getting here as journalists that, oh, you all are favoring Israel and you're not asking the tough questions and how they continue to slaughter innocent Palestinians. Why is there such a disconnect with the message, and what are people not understanding about Israel's response?
I think that Hamas is, we know that Hamas, these terrorist organizations, are masters of manipulation, and they know that the world cares about numbers and how many people are dying. And that's why we've seen all these footages coming out of Gaza. But I want to remind you, there are no international journalists in Gaza right now. And every information that comes out of Gaza, that's why in October 16, when UNRWA tweeted that Hamas stole supplies from their compound, they had to delete it immediately and then didn't give any explanation. Or in October 17th, when the Al-Ahli hospital was blown up, Hamas said that 800 people were killed. And then a week later, we found out that the number is closer to 10, according to an American, German, French, and UK intelligence. At the end of the day, Hamas is lying about everything. And also, this is a manipulation, and it's a psychological terror attack as well to try and get world's opinion to hate Israel as much as they do.
And of course, when you release those images, people are horrified by them. And if they're releasing the images first, unfortunately, that's the one that kind of shapes the narrative. We know a female soldier captured during the Hamas attack was released during a ground operation. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says a ground invasion creates the possibility of getting hostages out, and Hamas will only do it under pressure. Do you agree with that, Hen? And can he even negotiate with Hamas?
Right. I mean, how can you negotiate with people that just a few weeks ago put babies in ovens and burned them, or violated young girls, did the most horrific and barbaric acts? They don't care about human lives. They don't care about ceasefire. There was a ceasefire, by the way, until October 6th. On October 7th, Hamas broke the ceasefire, and they forced Israel to respond. I don't think any American that is watching this would feel differently if it was their children that were held by a terrorist organization that has been brutalizing their own community. I think everyone would want their country to do whatever they can to save those kids and those families and bring them home.
Hen, I could not agree with you more, but I also think that what happens, too, is that there has been this false narrative put in place where it's over there. It doesn't affect me. Hen, can you help break down why it does affect every American sitting here watching what's happening right now in Israel?
Absolutely. We heard today from the FBI saying that similar incidents of terror might occur in the U.S., that Hamas is actually promoting terrorism, global terrorism. This is not just, Hamas is quite a young organization. They started in the 80s. But before that, there's a whole ideology of people that are just out there to kill. And there's, luckily for a lot of people in the West, Israel is just refusing to be murdered and just laying down there. But if Israel was not there, the West would be next. And I think that's important for everyone to recognize that this is not just a war between Israel and Hamas. It's a war between the free world and people that don't believe in freedom at all.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.